Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, continued coverage of the 48th edition of the Toronto International Film Festival. On this episode, 2 Canadian LGBT feature films, BACKSPOT and I Don't Know Who You Are, plus a 4-part CBC Docu-Series telling our story. That and more in episode 373, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Harder, porn star, burlesque performer, and the creator of Porn to Be a Star. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT FM in Toronto and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together, we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, as well as being recognized as a #1 Canadian LGBT podcast on feedspot.com. So today, I have 2 on-location interviews and 1 virtual interview from the 48th edition of the Toronto International Film Festival. BACKSPOT, a driven cheerleader, struggles to handle the pressure when she and her girlfriend are both selected for an elite cheer squad. I speak with the film's director, D.W. Watterson, and the film's star, Devry Jacobs. I Don't Know Who You Are. After a sexual assault, a Toronto musician spends a weekend trying to find the money for HIV-preventive treatment. I speak with the film's director, M.H. Murray, and the film's star, Mark Clennon. And a 4-part CBC Docu-Series telling our story. A visually stunning series highlighting 11 different First Nations in Quebec, and illuminates the rich Indigenous cultures and stories that exist within that province. I speak with the series director, Kim Obamsawin, and participant and award-winning musician, Jeremy Dutcher. Plus in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house, and on this episode I'm featuring some classic new wave, some queer blues, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 373 through Rainbow Country. But first up, the Rainbow Country Bookstore. Today, award-winning author Michael Bach reads from his latest book, Alphabet Soup, the essential guide to LGBTQ2+ inclusion at work. By the way, Alphabet Soup is available wherever you get your favorite books, and on Amazon.ca, Alphabet Soup has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars.
Alphabet Soup is a guide that will take you, my faithful reader, on a journey of discovery with the objective of turning you and your organization into active allies, a term I explain in the book. Like it or not, LGBTQ2+ people need allies to help us achieve that elusive goal of true inclusion. Everything in this book can be applied to a workplace and engaging with employees, as well as interactions with volunteers, customers, students, parishioners, or just everyday people on the street. When it comes to LGBTQ2+ inclusion at work and in communities, I'm always reminded of one of my favorite conversations. Many years ago, I was speaking with the head of HR for an organization located in a Western European country that shall remain nameless to protect the guilty. She was telling me about the company's work in diversity and inclusion, with no mention of work in the LGBTQ2+ communities. When I probed, she defensively explained that they don't discuss, quote, these things, end quote, at work. I looked over at a photo on her desk and asked if the man in it with her was her husband, to which she responded in the affirmative. It was a wedding photo and she was wearing a white wedding dress, so chances were good. I pointed out that the photo was a statement of her sexual orientation. I likely didn't need to ask her what sexual orientation she identified with because she had it on display. I probably should have asked, but let's focus on the point. That was an eye-opening moment for her. Organizations don't think about how much it costs to not create inclusive space for LGBTQ2+ folks. But the price tag can be quite hefty. There's the cost of lower levels of engagement, the cost of higher levels of voluntary turnover, the cost of recruitment, the cost of decreased innovation. And just like when I enter a wine store, that bill can add up fast. So how do you quantify the cost? I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. Then, around 2005, someone from IBM shared a model with me. The first time I saw it, I thought, this is exactly what I've been trying to explain. And I used it to build a business case for why my employer needed an LGBTQ2+ employee resource group. At the top of the list of issues is the fact that the approach to educating on diversity and inclusion is traditionally one and done. You put everyone through a voluntary program and you're good, right? This is what I like to refer to as wrong. The first mistake is that your employee population isn't static. The average employee turnover rate is about 18%, but that can be a lot higher in some industries, like food service or retail. One food service employer I worked with had a turnover rate of nearly 75% of frontline workers. By the time you've trained everyone, you need to start back at the beginning to capture new people. And that cycle continues endlessly. Education should be part of onboarding. From the day a person starts, there should be mandatory D&I education, obviously with specific LGBTQ2+ content, driven by a D&I learning map that takes each person through a learning journey. The second mistake in the one-and-done approach is the idea that one program covers it all. If Black Lives Matter has shown us anything, it's that we have a lot of work to do to educate people on anti-Black and anti-Indigenous systemic racism. And that's just one topic. The conversation on LGBTQ2+ inclusion is constantly evolving, and so should your education program.
Hi, I'm Saida Garrett, co-writer of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mr. Mark Tara.
Up next, I speak with director D.W. Watterson and actor and producer Devry Jacobs from the new Canadian queer film BACKSPOT. D.W. Watterson, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I am well. Davery Jacobs. Am I saying your first name correctly? Davery?
Devry. It's like every.
Every, but with a D? Devry.
Yeah.
Devry Jacobs, hi. How are you?
Very good.
I have to say thank you both for being here to have your voices, your stories be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about your new movie, BACKSPOT. First of all, I saw the film, loved it. Great film.
Thank you.
Loved the visuals, loved the energy, the music. DW, you are the director. I believe you produced it, co-produced it, that sort of thing. The story that you're telling in BACKSPOT, talk to me about the story that you're telling in this film.
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, there's always been this synergy between the queer community and cheerleaders, kind of going back to, but I'm a cheerleader and Bring It On, being so camp and so queer coded. So I kind of wanted to explore that a little more, but also tell a story that wasn't centered around like queer trauma, which I feel like we're very used to in cinema. The conflict is always around the queerness and the relationships or the coming out story. And so for me, I really wanted to tell a story where there are so many queer characters, especially queer characters in sport, but the conflict was in the actual sport itself, and the queer the queer characters are thriving.
Well said. Devry, BACKSPOT tells an openly lesbian story. What is it about this story, this project, that made you want to come on board?
I've been on board since the very beginning. It was actually at TIFF back in 2017, where DW was talking to me about the story that they wanted to create about a cheerleader. It was a sports film, that it would be gritty. And they had said, like, I would love for you to play the protagonist. And I laughed because I was like, this is actually really funny, because I used to be a competitive gymnast and I used to be like former provincial champion. And
well done.
Yeah. And so I'm also, as a producer on the film, from the time we did the proof of concept to 5 years later till now, we spent the past couple years really diving into the characters and developing the story and fleshing it out and making sure that we were hitting the points that we wanted to and conveying the messaging that we wanted to. But yeah, from the jump, I've been involved with creating the character of Riley and working with DW on this.
So DW, this goes back a number of years, but was there a seed, was there a flashpoint that sparked this movie?
Yes. I feel like it's a scene that I maybe explored in the proof of concept of this film, which we made 5 years ago. Because, sometimes when you're trying to get money and financing for films, it's good to kind of show people the tone. And because we've never seen a cheerleading film that's gritty, I didn't have any material to really show people what I meant. And that scene was definitely around, the dynamic between Coach Eileen and Riley and having that friction between, a mentor of sorts in Riley, as well as kind of the pushing down into the split scene. There was a viral video that went around at one point in time of like team members or coaches pushing a cheerleader down into the splits. And it was quite visceral for people to watch. And that definitely kind of like turned something in my head to be like, this is very interesting and not okay in many ways. And let's explore this moment a little bit more. It's a sport that's definitely worth taking a closer look.
Mm-hmm. Devry, what got you into acting?
What got me into acting? I've always been interested in it. That was something from the time I was like 7 years old, taking part in like the Turtle Island Theater Company on my reserve. That I'd wanted to do, but it was more recently and kind of out of necessity that I started writing and producing and creating. And so to be able to be involved in both capacities with BACKSPOT is just, it's a project that I'm so proud of.
Mm. DW, you have a background in music videos, that sort of look for film. Talk to me about bringing that look, a music video style, into this feature, BACKSPOT, because there are times, in my humble opinion, I'm like, This looks real good. Like the camera angles, like the placements. One of the scene where someone's being taken out on a gurney and the placement of the camera for that, as well as something in the locker room where someone is sitting very still and there's a lot of commotion around them. Talk to me about the influence of your background in film and music videos on this feature, BACKSPOT.
Yeah. I mean, music videos are very flashy and very polished and are very in sync with, obviously, the music. And for me, being a DJ and electronic music producer, music is very important to me and the way it kind of cuts together with the film. When it comes to those kind of like stylized shots, that's something that's just inherently a part of my voice as a director. Working meticulously on my shot list for weeks, making sure I'm kind of coming prepared to set. But I had a very specific vision that I wanted to achieve with this film, so much so that my shot list had QR codes and drawings and sketches and examples of the way I wanted the light in the shot or the way the angle or the lens that I wanted to use. I was very hands-on in terms of, how I wanted to see this journey with Riley.
Okay, so music videos. That's my DJ BACKSPOT. Night is Why, an award-winning LGBTQ plus and Indigenous-owned production company. This is both your production companies. DW, how did this collaboration, this award-winning production house, DW, how did this come about? And congrats on everything.
Thank you. I've been working under the title Night is Why for some time. I did That's My DJ with the series. And I think when Dev and I met at a film institute 5 years ago, we realized we had a lot of similar passions and perspectives for the queer community and the Indigenous community. And we saw a lot of overlap there. And also just our taste in film. It was very similar and who we really appreciated and all the styles and stuff like that. So it really just came together naturally of being very passionate about very similar storytelling, and kind of from there started developing projects. And then obviously BACKSPOT was kind of first and foremost what we really wanted to tell first.
And Devry, for yourself, what was it about DW that made you say, I think this is someone that I can trust and put some artistic faith into?
I mean, it was just really working with them we had worked together before becoming creative collaborators. And I think that they have such a specificity in their voice, and the way that they work with actors is immediately disarming and immediately like DW has the trust of all of the actors around them and in the sensitivity that they bring. And yeah, like I think just it was really organic and natural how it happened. And that's how we ended up becoming creative collaborators.
Well said. My last question for the two of you, and Devry, I'll let you go first. What do you hope audiences come away with after they've seen BACKSPOT?
I hope that audiences feel like they went for a ride. I hope that... Or
a backflip.
And literally are going through it in the motions of the opening scene. But I hope that people... come to see cheerleading in a different light. I hope that audiences come to see queer cinema in a different light, that it doesn't necessarily have to be all traumatic, and to see the different ways in which generations of queer folks interact with each other, where there's gaps and tension and friction, and where there's also bridges that are being built. I hope that's what audiences take away.
DW?
I mean, so well said. I would agree. I hope people kind of walk away from the film feeling energized and feeling like they need to go on a workout, or maybe try a sport that they've never tried before, or, go to the gym or that kind of thing, but feeling good and entertained, but also, thinking about the mental health aspect and thinking about how stress and anxiety can affect the body. And maybe there's a little bit more of a conversation people can have after that.
Well said. Well said to the two of you. DW, Devry, thank you both for your time. Well said, well done, well made. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
BACKSPOT is currently doing the film festival circuit scene, but keep a lookout for it when it does hit streaming.
My name is Charles Officer, and I'm the writer and director of Invisible Essence, The Little Prince. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, my on-location interview for the new Canadian LGBT feature film, I Don't Know Who You Are. I speak with the film's director, M.H. Murray, and the film's star, Mark Clennon. M.H., hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I am well. Mark, how are you?
I'm so good, really good.
I have to say to the two of you, thank you both for being here, to have your voices, your stories be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about a new Canadian feature film, I Don't Know Who You Are.
Yes.
I Don't Know Who You Are. So MH, talk to me about this film and the story that essentially that you're telling in this feature. Your debut.
Debut, baby. Yeah. So, it's a very personal story. It's a film that follows a character named Benjamin, who is a gay man living in Toronto. He's a musician. He's a freelance worker. He's an immigrant. He's at the intersection of a lot of different identities, and that's what I think makes the film so interesting, is that I was able to take my own experience and kind of filter it through the experience of this character, and then Mark was able to bring some of his own experience into the character and kind of merge those worlds. And we shot it in Mark's apartment, so it was very intimate, and he put a lot of himself into it. His artwork is in the film. He plays instruments in the film. He wrote an original song for the film. So it was a really beautiful collaboration and a great chance for me to, I guess, tell my personal story in a way that is, I guess positive or...
So what's the inspiration for this story?
Well, I experienced something traumatic, and then as I was going through the motions of trying to access the healthcare that I needed afterwards, I just kind of learned so much that I didn't realize before about, how expensive certain drugs are, especially HIV drugs, and how difficult it is to advocate for yourself, and how many hoops you have to jump through just to access it. And then once you do access it, you have to pay a whole bunch of money. So I, sat on it for a few years. I had to go through the motions, I guess, and then I realized there was potentially a cool structure for a film, in the sense that with PEP, you need to take it within 24 to 48, maximum 72 hours after, so it kind of creates like a clock. And I remember experiencing that feeling of oh my God, what do? I have 1 weekend to get my shit together, basically. And so, I started working on it with Mark and opening up about it more, and it turned into some cinema.
And were you ever concerned about being so open with your story?
I still am.
Yeah.
Even in this moment.
How's the feedback been?
It's been great feedback. I mean, it's going to be... I'm just mentally preparing myself for tonight when we premiere the movie, and just, letting it go into the world, and it becomes everybody else's, Once you make a piece of art and you let it out into the world, it's still yours, but it's not just yours. And so I have to be okay with people interpreting it however they choose to interpret it. But I feel good about the images we created and the story that we told.
So Mark, how do you know MH? How do you know Mark? How did you guys connect originally?
We kind of came to each other through the Toronto gay scene, just going out, meeting people.
Oh, the gay scene.
The gay scene, yeah. Just out and about. MH's one of those people that I know, but we got asked this in an interview the other day, and I was like genuinely thinking, I'm like, when was the very first time we met? Because I feel like you're one of those people that I've just kind of known through osmosis in the city, and yeah.
That's a good word.
Okay, so Mark, let's stick with yourself. You are an actor, you are a singer, you are a musician. Your single, your music video, 2022's Kingston, was shot in Jamaica, and was the first music video that had same-sex romance in it, and this was making history in Jamaica. So here's a question: when this information was coming to you, that my little music video that I did is like kind of stirring some shit up in Jamaica, what went through your mind?
So many things.
Because was that the intent? To stir some drama.
I think my intent was more so thinking about when I was that young person growing up in Jamaica and looking out into the world and not seeing a single representation of gay people. I always tell people the story about when I was really young. I remember growing up in Jamaica, you always hear about how homosexuality is the worst thing and you're going to hell. But I had this brief period in my life where I started realizing that I was gay, where I was like, oh my God, am I the only one in the world? Because you don't see it anywhere. It's like, you know what I mean? Like this is a country where there are no openly gay politicians, musicians, actors, nothing. And I also, at that time, my mom was very conservative with television, so I wasn't even watching like American television to see like gay people there. So I genuinely had a moment where I was like, am I the only one? Is something really wrong with me? So I wanted to make this video just to show a depiction of a gay person living, breathing in Jamaica. And I also wanted it to be something that was wholesome and not tragic, because I think if you are a gay person in Jamaica and you Google gay Jamaica, it's horrible what you see, and that informs your self-esteem and your vision for the world. So I wanted just to create one piece of art that could exist as something positive for the gay community in Jamaica. Less so about causing controversy, but more so just giving a face to that community.
Did the response surprise you in regards to, what it was stirring up?
You know what's crazy is it did surprise me, because I expected it to be horrible. I expected people to hate it and hate me, and growing up in Jamaica, I'm not oblivious to the depth of homophobia that exists. So that was something that I really anticipated and I sort of braced for, and definitely came, but what really surprised me was the people who I didn't expect to respond positively, like people in my family or people that I, knew, or even just strangers who I would have assumed maybe wouldn't like it, that were like, this was beautiful and thank you so much for doing this. And, I won't say who, but I have a family member who I know is quite homophobic and has very strong views about the gay community. And when this came out, was so supportive and so loving. And that, I think that surprised me more than the other stuff. Yeah.
So, MH, let's turn to yourself. There's a scene in the film that's shot at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto.
Yes.
And Mark's character is singing and playing his saxophone. They're on stage. Was that live?
Yeah.
That was live.
It was, yeah. It's funny.
Talk
a lot
to me
of people,
about that.
It's so. I mean, it's I guess a testament to Mark's voice or something. Maybe the sound design. I don't know.
The sound. It sounded live. It didn't sound like pre-recorded.
Some people were like, "Oh, he sounds almost too good. Did you like tweak it?" But no, it was fully live. And
was that always the intent?
Yeah, because I really wanted it to feel like I tried to incorporate. There's an audience there. You can kind of hear some of the restaurant sounds. You can hear the space, and I think as the performance progresses, he becomes a bit more confident, and he's still unsure of himself. But I will say that was very crazy and emotional to shoot, because Mark wouldn't let me hear the song until he was performing it. I mean, I heard...
So that's the original song?
Yeah, that's the original song. And in the song, he actually says, "I don't know who you are, and I don't know who I am," or I don't know. So he's talking about himself and others. But I burst into tears the first time when he started performing it, because I was just like, oh my God, it sounded so good. And it was so beautiful. And I think also just the anticipation and the relief. Because imagine if it wasn't good, and I would be like, oh, okay, take two.
Can we start over?
With another song.
But we did shoot it a bunch of times. We must have shot it like 10 times.
Wow.
So by the time it was the 10th time, I was like, all right, the emotions were still there, but yeah.
And the title, I Don't Know Who You Are. Where does that come from?
So I struggled a lot with what to title it, because I had already written the basic. Well, a lot of the logistics of the story are just real life, but like the intricacies of, okay, his friend and his boyfriend and his parents and things like that, we had figured all of that out, and then it actually ended up getting cut from the final version, but there was a monologue in the script where he is talking to his friend, and he's like, oh, I don't know, like, just the idea of this man who assaulted him is a stranger, and he doesn't know anything about him, his name, his status, anything. And this idea of, oh, he could be walking through the world, they could be in the same cinema, they could be in the same store, and that man might not even remember him or recognize him. Just this idea of being someone affecting your life so intensely, or doing something to you that really changes your life, but to them it maybe doesn't really, like, they're not thinking about it as much. And this notion of not knowing, and in other ways too in the script, like he doesn't really know who he is and what he wants, and the man that he's pursuing now, like, he isn't also able to be fully open about his status. And so there's all these different levels of what we choose to share with each other and what we don't. And I think that's one of the things that he's struggling with in the film, that he never actually says outright, but I think it shows in just, you know, his actions and the anxiety of just being like, who the fuck was that? Pardon my language.
So I'm assuming that the film is doing the film festival circuit scene right now. What's the plan? When will the general public be able to see this? Is it going to drop on like a CBC Gem or on a Crave or on a Netflix? What do you hope?
We have a Canadian distributor, Vortex Media, who have been so incredible, helping us prepare for TIFF and helping us navigate TIFF. So we will be releasing in theaters in Canada sometime in the near future.
How does that make you feel?
I'm so excited. You know,
this is your debut film.
It is, yeah. It's pretty exciting, and we're hoping that we'll be able to, you know, screen in other countries as well. And we're going to be going to a couple more film festivals after this. We're competing in Calgary for a narrative competition. We're going to Vancouver. So we're starting in Canada, and hopefully we can take the story and the film everywhere. Far and wide.
Well done, well done. My last question for the both of you: what do you hope audiences come away with after they've seen this film? I Don't Know Who You Are. What do you hope audiences take away from this film, MH?
I hope that people feel a sense of hope, maybe, or curiosity about themselves and about the world and about queer people. We've talked a lot about what we want people to take away from it, and I think maybe like a simple, tangible thing would be, you know, hopefully the film can encourage people to have more conversations with their partners or get tested and not be ashamed about it. And I definitely wanted to, we all definitely wanted to show people, or at least one character in the film who lives with two, actually, the HIV worker and his lover, both of whom live with HIV, and they are positive role models. They live great lives, and they're, you know, I think a great representation. Hopefully it can help smash the stigma, as we've been saying. Yeah.
Mark, what do you hope audiences come away with?
Definitely echoing all of the things that MH just said, but I think more so giving people who are maybe not exposed to that kind of information, and people like Benjamin, you know, from places like where Benjamin is from, just a bit more insight into that experience. And also with the healthcare system, I'm so proud to live in this country, in this city, but I think this film exposes a lot of inequities in our healthcare system, and I hope that it could potentially inspire a conversation and just lead to, as MH said, some tangible change, because I don't believe that anyone should have to, after suffering such a traumatic incident, have to then be re-traumatized with the anxiety of having to come up with $900 for medication that is life-saving. And so hopefully that could be something that people are able to reflect on and think about, and hopefully take steps towards fixing.
Well said, well said. Well said, well done, well filmed. Congrats, your debut. MH, Mark, thank you both for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
I Don't Know Who You Are is currently doing the film festival circuit scene, but look out for it when it does come to streaming.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
Hi, my name is Joanne Vanicola, and I'm an actor and a writer, and I was first on Rainbow Country with Mark Tara on discussing the massacre at Pulse Club in Orlando. I realized how important it was for our community to have a radio station, specifically for our issues, to talk about people in the LGBTQ community and to provide an outlet for our stories, to discuss our politics, culture, and give voice to the issues that matter to us. And of course our artists and the things that we do globally, and talk about culture. And without people like Mark Tara providing a space for this with a radio show like this, then we wouldn't have that voice. So support, tune in. Thank you.
Hi, this is Amanda Marshall, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, another one of my on-location interviews from the 48th edition of the Toronto International Film Festival. This time, the 4-part CBC Docu-Series, Telling Our Story. I speak with the show's director, Kim Obamsawin, and participant and award-winning musician, Jeremy Dutcher. Kim Obamsawin, hi. How are you?
I'm doing great. Awesome, actually.
Am I saying your last name correctly, Obamsawin?
Perfectly.
Okay, good. Jeremy Dutcher, hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well. It's great to be here with you.
I have to say thank you both for being here, especially to talk about this new 4-part series called Telling Our Story. Kim, let's start with yourself on the ground floor, so to speak. You direct the series. What are the stories being told in this 4-part docu-series? What's the story being told in this show?
Oh, there's a lot. The objective of the series is to was to go and meet very important people. It's from the 11 people of Quebec. Mm-hmm. And it was all about giving them all the place they wanted to share their own side of the story, of their nation, of themselves, and sharing their beautiful culture and languages.
It's 11 nations, essentially.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And Jeremy, for yourself, you're an award-winning musical artist. Talk to me about your involvement in this 4-part docu-series, Telling Our Story.
Yeah, I was approached by Kim a couple years ago, and like you said, it was an open invitation to tell the story that felt like important to tell in this moment. And for me, it was about language, and I know there were like so many other different communities talking about different things, but for us as Wolastoqiyik, like talking about language is really important right now because we have less than 100 fluent speakers, so we're considered a severely endangered language. So everything I want to do and say around my part in that little documentary, or my little part in that beautiful big documentary rather, was like just to talk about the beautiful work that's happening around language revitalization, and the fact that we, as particularly people of the East, are getting strong, and healing through that linguistic place of coming to know our languages a little bit better every day. It's a journey, and highlighting people that are kind of forebearers and people that are really centering that conversation in their work. Like Lisa Pearly Dutcher, who started Gakimin, which is the first Wolastoqiyik immersion school. It's like, it's so special to have people like that represented because they don't or haven't traditionally had a platform like this. So it's really special to see these people, in my world, but also in every community on this big screen to say, like, here we are, here's our story. It's so beautiful. So, I played a little part in it. We had, they brought a grand piano to the reserve and we put it right in the forest and played some music. So I got, a chance to make some music as well for my community and, for the ancestors and for the trees. And it felt really like a special opportunity. So, I got to offer my art as well and how that plays into the movements of revitalization, and the story felt really beautifully held by Kim's work.
So Kim, talk to me about how this series came about. Were you just brought on board to direct it? Are you involved from the ground up? How did this docu-series come to be?
Well, it started a long time ago. It came out of a dream that Reginald Volant, an Innu man that was very important to me, he had this dream of putting together a piece on the 11 First People of Quebec. And we have to say Quebec because we have to pinpoint a geographic location. But we made the point of telling the world that we don't recognize colonial borders. So like Jeremy's in New Brunswick, but we have Wolastoqiyik people in Quebec too. And my people, the Abenaki people, we cross an international border, the United States, and we go all the way to Maine. So, and we went to Ontario with the Anishinaabe people. So he had this dream about putting all of us together in one documentary. So it was kind of it is the first time that we're all there on the same documentary. So he came to me and he asked me to direct it, starting from that dream. And unfortunately, we lost Reginald 4 years ago, not so long after we started the process. But we made him the promise that we would take this series as far as possible. And I really believe he was there all along the way and leading us the way. And so it started as a big process involving the community. So it was really a co-creation, community-based research. And it was all about collaboration all the way through the first idea that we had till today.
So, Jeremy, you are a musician. You are an award-winning musician, but you're also an LGBT activist. So talk to me about, for yourself, why is it important for you to be active, especially when it comes to the LGBT community?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I guess I want to interrogate the word of what activist means.
Oh, what does it mean to you?
I guess, it's all subjective, right? I think just to exist and to live as like a person in this world who knows yourself and can express that in a free way.
It's like queering a space. It's like you walk into a room and you are part of the community. You automatically queer that space, you know, and there's that phrase, queering spaces,
so
right?
There's a subtle activism in that, you know, that I think, you know, to take up that space and to do it in a way that is from a place of self-knowledge. And you know, I've been allowed to have that space, and I give always credit to the you know, matriarchs around me that have, you know, encouraged me to be me, you know, and so that feels like a gift that not everyone has been given. So why not share from that place, you know? And so I guess I used to be very active, you know, in terms of activists, you know, in terms of getting out and getting loud and, you know, going to protests and stuff. But I never found like that moved people as much as, you know, music and just existing. But I exist because a lot of people can't. And, you know, we're in a culture where rights can come and go, which is scary. And so we need to be out and open and honest about the beauty of queer existence and queer life. That for me is a way to be active and loving at the same time. So yeah, I don't even think I addressed it in this film, but I think, you know, just through my work and through my existence as a queer person, and also being involved in queer media, like you know, being a judge on RuPaul's Drag Race Canada edition, you know, that was really fun. You know, getting to, you know, wear stuff on red carpets that's really queer. You know, this is just a way of existing that I want to bring forward, because Indigenous people, we always knew that was the case, right? That nobody's outside the circle. You know, closets don't have teepees. Oh, I said that wrong. Teepees don't have closets. You know, it's like there's a sacredness to us as queer people that, you know, a lot of Indigenous people, we've kept that way of understanding, you know. So I think that's a gift for the world, and we want to bring that forward too. So, you know, we'll have to make another film about that, Kim. Yeah.
Well, actually, let's stay with yourself, Jeremy. So,
okay.
2019, Juno Awards, Indigenous Album of the Year.
Yeah.
You won that.
Oh, it was 2019.
2019.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that long ago.
You won the Indigenous Album of the Year. So what does it mean to you to win that Juno for a body of work? Not just like a single, but for your album, for a body of work. What does that mean to you?
Well, a body of work, too, that was really directed towards a community and for a purpose. And I felt like to have it acknowledged and received in that way, in that platform, is really beautiful. And Kim, you probably feel the same way, too, about being at TIFF and having this kind of acknowledgement. It's like, because it's kind of antithetical to our way as well, and to our teachings of humility as like a sacred teaching, to say like, actually nobody's better than anyone. You know, there's like a true deep equality in our way of understanding. And so, yes, we take up these spaces and be on red carpets and, you know, take awards and do all that, but like understanding that it's for something and for people that are like not able to do that, you know. So we just have to shine twice as hard, you know, and just show them how beautiful we are. And this is something that this series has done, you know, and I'm so excited for people to witness it and be a part of that, you know. It's really exciting.
Yeah, if I can jump on this, because you know, I'm so happy that Jeremy's there with me today, because to me that series is really not about me, it's about all the people that are in the series. Like, to me, Jeremy's a superhero, but there are so many other superheroes in that series, and they're not here at TIFF with me, and I wish they could. I know it's technically not possible, but
well, actually
that would
it is.
Well, it would have been my dream to bring on stage everybody, because it's all about their voices.
Yeah,
and I'm there shining, but I feel like
they're here in spirit.
Yes, they're here in spirit, but it's my face that is shown, and I sometimes it feels wrong to me, and I'm not. Anyway, yeah.
2020, Vancouver International Film Festival. Je m'appelle Humane.
Call Me Human, yeah.
You won for Best Documentary 2020. What did that award mean to you for winning for Best Documentary? Well done.
Well, I'm happy, but my task for that film was to make a film on a very special person. That is, her name is Joséphine Bacon. She's an Innu poet. And my task was to make sure that I would make her proud. And that was the first goal. And if I achieved that, my job was done. And after that, to make sure that the Innu people felt well represented, because I'm not Innu. And so that was a big job. And after that, well, it's only cherry on the top. But, okay, I won at Vancouver, but like Jamie said, we are taught to be humble. And it's just those kind of events don't feel normal, or I'm sure you understand. And so, yeah, it's our time to shine, but I just wish I could shine with all those people too.
What did Josephine say?
She loved it. I was so nervous when I showed her the first time, and she said, and she's so humble herself, and she said, "It's so beautiful. It's with all the people that I love." So she was always referring to the other people in the film. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
She's so special.
She's very special.
Wow.
So here's my last question, and it's for the two of you, and Kim, I'll start with yourself. What do you hope audiences come away with after they've seen this 4-part docuseries telling your story? What do you hope audiences take away?
I really hope that people will finally see us as something much bigger than trauma and bad stuff, indigenous people problem. No, we're so much more than that. We're cool, we're brilliant, we have superpowers, we're superheroes, we have languages that are amazing, cultures, know-how, a relationship with the land that is amazing, and this is what we have to share with the world, and that they have to start seeing us like this.
What's that? Jeremy?
Yeah, what can I say past that? That's stunning.
I'm sure you'll find something.
Oh, but it's so true what you said. It's so beautiful. You're a messenger, and you're telling these stories, and not just one story, like a multitude of stories, in such a bright and beautiful way. And like you said, just reflecting on like the beauty that you offered just now, it's like for them to see our bright light reflected is when the healing like really gets going, because there's a lot that needs to be shared, and of course, we've heard it in the news and we hear these sad stories, but to tell past that and to not look past it, to look through it and to engage it, but to also point the camera in a beautiful way, because those have always been our stories, and those have always been our ways of telling them, have been through beauty and through song and through language and through it's complete. So I think you're kind of mending a circle right now, so that they may, Canada, non-Indigenous people may know us better, but also even, and this is critical, we may know ourselves better, because I think this was a transformative experience for me in engaging this series. Being a part of it was nice and exciting and fun, but to also get to witness it and engage and hear these stories coming from, all these different nations, all of these different understandings and languages and peoples that have kept, as you were saying, kept that relationship and connection to this place through culture. What a beautiful thing to witness. So, it's hard to predict what people are going to take away with it or take away from it. You hope You know, all we can do as creators and people that are putting it out is to offer it in a good way. And it's evident to me that has been done in this case, and I know it will be received in that way. You know, and people are going to come away with it telling the story that needs to be told in this moment, whatever that means to them. You know, it's not going to make a climate activist of everyone. It's not going to send, you know, everyone to, you know, Wolastoqey immersion schools. Although you're welcome to come and learn our languages. Like, yes to that action, you know. I hope it does inspire something in people to act, you know, because I think not just our languages coming back, but also, you know, food sovereignty, narrative sovereignty, taking our stories back. You know, this is a critical moment, you know, and to have this kind of high level storytelling, that's also just so beautiful. Like, it's just such a document. It's really exciting. So,
and they'll also learn about the Treaty of 1752, which I didn't know about. And I have to say, Jeremy, Kim, thank you both for your time. Thank you for being on the show.
Having us.
It's a pleasure.
By the way, the Treaty of 1752 showed the Crown's intention to make peace, provide trading posts, and protect the land and way of life for the Mi'kmaq people of Nova Scotia. Telling Our Story is now streaming on CBC Gem.
The phone rings. I got a message from the mayor. He's going to call me back the next day. I get the call, and he said, if you'd accept, we'd like to honor you with the key to the city. There was an event later that year in May. Just a key, right? Like, key to what? A decent job, a good singing career. It's really a metaphor, but it's history. So a reporter wants to talk to me and says, you know, well, so it's a key, right? Like, what's the big deal? I said, well, not everybody gets the key. So I looked it up, and I guess it is kind of a big deal.
The date, May 17th, 2018, when trans activist Susan Gapka made history by becoming the first trans woman to be presented with the key to the city of Toronto. By the way, past recipients include Rush and the Raptors. And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. To keep up to date with the show, follow me on socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in yourself. And the world will believe in you.
I'm Sky Gilbert, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.